doing okay. That old bird's doing okay. So far, so good. We got some hill climbing to do coming up here. We'll see how she does then. So what are my impressions of this 2007 Goldwing after almost 7,000 miles? I'll tell you, it is a phenomenal bike. I'm a little disappointed with the storage on it, but I'm trying to find ways to work around that by packing smarter. I've got a set of Goldwing dedicated bag liners coming. That should help the packing process. In the meantime, I'm using my my bag liners from the Voyager. I simply can't fit as much into the Goldwing bags. I think we'll see when I finally get the bag liners, but it doesn't seem that the bags are as big as my Voyager. That is one of the cons to this bike. Now, the big plus to this bike is the engine. Incredible. This thing pulls from every gear like a train. You know, my friend Carl, down when I was out in Utah, we were talking about these bikes, and he was interested in the DCT version of the 2018-2019 Goldwing. And I told him I like the shift. But what he was telling me was he finds himself not shifting. He says, once I get in fifth gear, I pretty much leave it there, and anytime I need power, it's right there for me. Now, as I said, I like the shift. I like the downshift, but I will have to say, there's a certain amount of truth to what he says. I find that I don't shift as much with this engine. I just don't need to. Now, when I ride aggressively, I have to remember to shift. But you know, this is all a feeling out process. As I say, I've only had the bike a month, and even though I've put 7,000 miles on it, much of that, well, 5,600 miles of it, no, I'm sorry, 4,400 miles of it was highway miles. So, you know, you just put it in cruise control and riding it. Now, I will say this, very, very comfortable. All-day comfort with the stock seat and the Kawasaki backrest. I did have to adjust the backrest further back, but that's kind of giving me a great seating position. I do not have highway pegs on this yet. I'm not sure that I'm going to put them on because I found that I haven't needed them. And honestly, I don't know how crazy I am about having those things sticking out when you're in some tight twisties. I just don't want stuff dragging that doesn't need to drag. So as long as I can do without highway pegs, I think I will. Although, you know, they are, I have them on the Voyager, and they are very comfortable when you need that extra change in position on a long trip. I will say this. The GPS, while not useless, it's near useless. You can't download any files to it like you can to a dedicated Garmin unit. It won't let you operate it while you're underway. Those are all, I think, big strikes against this bike as a luxury touring bike. I mean, those are the kind of amenities that this bike should have had starting in 2001. A good GPS system, a good audio system, TFT screen, full color screen. It doesn't have any of those things. I've kind of modified mine a little bit here with the Android dashboard. It's not really an Android dashboard, just basically just my phone, my phone case fits perfectly in the infotainment screen opening, and it's nice and solid. Have everything that I need right in front of me, and I've not missed the Goldwing information screen much. There are times where I'd like to know what my trip mileage is, but or what the temperature is. But for all intents and purposes, I can easily rotate that and see everything underneath it. What else? Smooth and quiet. No two ways about it. I have a tough time sometimes when I'm watching videos that I've taken on this bike. I have a tough time hearing the engine. That was never an issue with the Voyager. I could always hear the engine on my video, and I kind of like that. I like that engine in the background. You can hear this, but it's near silent. I've been getting pretty good wear out of these Dunlop Elite 4s. Very smooth. They're good in the wet. I'm happy with those. That's not what comes on this bike from the factory, but it's what the previous owner had equipped it with last year. I think they were only 400 miles when I got them there. Still in great shape, even after all the mileage that I did. And I'm hoping to get some real decent mileage out of them. We'll see. I'll keep you posted on that. I think, too, I have to say, that the wind noise from this is more pronounced than the Voyager's behind the windshield. Now, I don't know if that has something to do with the adjustment or maybe it's the vent. I really don't know. But it's really not that much of an issue. The mirrors are great, but the mirrors were great on the Voyager as well. Now, I really can't speak to the stereo system because I really haven't used it much. What I have seen is that when you get up to speed, 70 miles an hour and up, for all intents and purposes, you can't really hear the stereo very well. But I've got the Cena, and with my phone right in front of me, I'm able to hook up to music anytime I want. I can make telephone calls, and I could do that even if it wasn't there, even if it was in one of the glove compartments. But it's just easier to reach and control from there. Plus, I have the access to my GPS on the phone if I want it. The front storage pockets are not as roomy as what I had on the Voyager. What else? I think awful lot of controls on this bike. That's fine. The Voyager just has a radio, and that's it. But I've never compared the sound of the two radios while underway. I really don't use the radio much at all, if at all. And that's as I say, I have the Cena. That's something that I'll do with the Cena in terms of listening to music. So I don't really care much about the infotainment for this bike, or any bike, really. This bike is rock solid in turns, very solid. Handles like a sport touring bike more than it does like a big touring bike. I noticed this is, even though it's heavier, it's more nimble than my Voyager. I think it's heavier by about 150 to 200 pounds. And don't get me wrong, the Voyager handles nicely, but this thing just feels very, very sure-footed in the twisties. I would say the two bikes are comparable on the highway. The advantage to this bike, obviously, as I've said, is the engine and the smoothness of the engine. Although the engine on the Voyager over my 10,000-mile ride last year was never an issue. I never felt that it was fuzzy. It never made my butt go to sleep. It never made my hands go to sleep. And this is pretty much the same with a bit more refinement, I would say. What was I saying? Yeah, I forget. Couldn't have been that important. I think the Voyager gets better gas mileage than this bike does. It's a smaller engine, so I guess that's to be expected. I was talking about the sure-footedness of this, the fact that it seems like more like a sport touring bike to me. Even though it's so heavy, that weight disappears. Anything up about 10 miles an hour, it disappears. But the Voyager did too. The Voyager has never felt heavy to me. 70 miles an hour on this bike is 3,000 RPM straight up, even. I think my Voyager is about 2,700 RPM, if I remember correctly. This is more nimble in the twisties, no question about it. It's more confidence-inspiring in the twisties than the Voyager is. But the Voyager is a very serviceable touring bike. And you have to remember that bike was originally designed in 1980. The first year was, I think, 1986. They made that bike, and they essentially made no changes between then, 86, and 2003, when they discontinued the Voyager 12. Years later, they came out with a new Voyager, which is a V-twin cruising type touring bike. So that's about all I've got to say on the Goldwing. Those are my impressions and my comparison a little bit to the Kawasaki Voyager 12, 2002. And this is Lake Willoughby over here on my left. I'm sorry. And it's been a long day. Look at that. They're beautiful. This is 5A North, West Burke, Vermont. And we're going to get up here to the other end of the lake. We're going to pull this big parking lot up there at the other end of the lake, and we're going to pull in there and take a break and enjoy the full-length view of this lake. I think it's 7 miles long. Just a beautiful place. One of the most beautiful places on earth, if you ask me. Look at that. Wow. That's it. That's all I got for you today. Over and out.